Hey everyone, and welcome! Today, we are digging into something that is, let's be honest, on every leader's mind right now. How in the world do you lead effectively when the ground is just constantly shifting beneath your feet? It's a huge question, so let's jump right in.
So, let me ask you this, and really think about it for a second. Is the way you lead built for a world that's, well, predictable, stable? Or is it actually ready for the kind of constant change we're all living through? That question, right there, is really the heart of everything we're going to talk about today.
Okay, so here's what we've got on tap. First, we'll set the scene with this world of constant change. Then, we'll take a look at the old playbook, how things used to be done. After that, we'll get into a whole new approach, really pin down what adaptive leadership is, and finally, we'll talk about how you can figure out your own style.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, A World of Change. And really, this is the backdrop for everything else. It's the big challenge that every single leader today has to face.
You've heard it a million times, I know. The only constant is change. But as cliche as it sounds, it has never, ever been more true than it is right now. Think about it. Tech disruptions, crazy markets, global events popping up out of nowhere. The whole landscape is just always moving. And that kind of environment, it just completely breaks those old, rigid ways of leading. It demands something new, something more agile.
So, to really get why this new way of thinking is so important, we got to look back a bit. We need to see where we came from. So, up next, in Section 2, let's take a quick look at the old playbook.
Okay, this timeline really lays it all out, doesn't it? Way back when, leadership was all about command and control. Super rigid. You can picture it, right? A general just barking orders. And hey, that worked fine when things were predictable. Then, as the world got a little more complex, we saw the rise of these formal hierarchies, the classic pyramid structure that a lot of us are still familiar with. But now, in today's world, the only thing that really works is a collaborative and adaptive approach. Leadership becomes something everyone shares, not just something that comes from the top.
So, what does this new way of leading actually look like? How does it work? That's what we're jumping into in Section 3. And just to be clear, we're not talking about a little tweak here or there. This is a whole new philosophy.
And wow, when you put them side by side, the difference is just night and day. The old playbook, that's the pyramid. Everything comes from the top, it's super directive, and honestly, it's slow. Information only flows one way. But the new model, it's more like a web. It's inclusive, it's flexible, it's all about networks. And with that kind of structure, you get way faster communication, decisions can be made all over the place, and your ability to actually adapt to change, it goes through the roof.
Okay, so this brings us to the big one, Section 4. We've been throwing this word adaptive around a lot, but what does it actually mean to be an adaptive leader? All right, here it is, adaptive leadership. It's not just some fancy buzzword, it's a real, practical framework. Think of it like a toolkit, a set of practices that helps people and whole companies figure out how to get through tough, challenging times. And check out that word, thrive. That's so important. This isn't just about gritting your teeth and surviving change. It's about actually using all that uncertainty to grow, to innovate, to get better. Which leads us perfectly into our last section. And honestly, this might be the most important part for you personally. This is where we take all this theory and make it real by looking at your own style.
And here's the really cool part. You don't have to just guess about this stuff. This isn't some abstract concept. There are actual practical tools out there, things like leadership assessments or 360-degree feedback, that are designed to help you really break down your own approach in a structured way.
So why use a tool like this? Well, it's basically a three-step process, and it creates this amazing feedback loop. First, you get to see your strengths, what you're already knocking out of the park. Second, you find your gaps, which is awesome because it gives you a clear idea of where you can grow. And then third, and this is key, you get to align your style with what your organization actually needs. That's how you make sure you're being as effective as you possibly can be.
So, the big takeaway here is that this kind of self-assessment, it's not just a navel-gazing exercise. It's not just for you. It's about getting that crystal clear picture of how you can show up and serve your team and your company in the best way possible. It's about becoming more effective, not just more self-aware. Big difference.
So, if there's one thing to walk away with, it's this. Leadership today, it's not a title. It's not a fixed position on an org chart. It has to be a dynamic, living practice. It's a commitment you make to keep learning, keep adapting, and keep evolving right along with your team and whatever challenges get thrown your way.
So I'll leave you with this to think about. Now that you have all this in your head, what's the first adaptive step you're going to take? It doesn't have to be huge. Maybe you'll just take 5 minutes to think about one of your strengths. Or maybe you'll think about a gap you want to work on. Or hey, maybe you'll just start a different kind of conversation with your team tomorrow. Whatever it is, the first step is yours to take. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.